Have you ever wanted to swear like a pirate? Well, look no further. All you need is a leaking Jeep TJ, you need a rear main seal, and an afternoon to learn how to swear like a pirate. And and a 6-pack of beer definitely helps with the cause. So follow these simple steps and you too could become a pirate that swears like a champion. Man, we're finally gonna attempt repairing the oil leak on our Jeep TJ Rubicon. I don't know if you guys have been following, but this thing is leaking oil like it hates it. Like it hates the stuff. It leaks about a quart every 100 miles or so. And it's gotten to a point, we've only put 200-300 miles on it since we got the Jeep, and it's time to tackle this one by the horns. I just want to be able to drive it without worrying about the engine.
So last week we did the valve cover gasket, thinking that would be the solution to all our problems. We think we did it correctly. Started driving it was still leaking. Was not too happy with it. I mean, it looks like it's leaking a little bit less, but there's clearly still another source of a leak. So since clearly that didn't work, today we're going to change out the rear main seal. We're also going to change the oil pan gasket, hoping that is the solution to all of our problems. So let's see how it goes.
If you have a Jeep Wrangler 4.0, you know that these rear main seals tend to go very often. This is not our first 4.0. As you know, we have this TJ over here, but fortunately this TJ doesn't leak a single drop of anything. It is seriously so immaculate all the time, and I feel like I totally jinxed it right now, but this isn't our first leak with a 4.0. So the reason we even have that other seal over there is because we used to have a YJ and we got a couple just in case we needed extra seals for that one. And so we're about to tackle the project on this. We'll guide you through it. I'll also put some good resources in the description below, along with all of the parts that we're using in this install, all below. So stay tuned to see us tackle this project. So here's everything you're gonna need to get the job done. You're gonna need a new oil pan gasket. You're gonna need a rear main seal. I like the Felpro brand. You're gonna need some kind of adhesive dissolver. I like Gugon. Liquid wrench always takes me a long way. Socket, ratchet wrench, pry tools, extensions, lots of ratchet heads. This is an interesting one. Anaerobic gasket maker, as well as ultra black oil resistant sealant. And last but not least, you're gonna need a torque wrench. So I will put all of this in the description below, and hopefully along with this video you're able to do this job yourself and save some serious money. And just as a reference, what was the estimate we got from a local shop? $500 to do the job and out for 2 days, whereas the parts cost probably like $30-40 total. So let's get started.
You're also gonna need a very strong cup of coffee.
Well, forgot to mention, you're also gonna need an oil filter, oil. We're basically doing an oil change. Very briefly, you're gonna have to get rid of the exhaust downpipe from the engine, the exhaust manifold, all the way to the muffler. You're gonna have to take that piece out. You're also gonna drop the oil pan, and then you're gonna do the replacement. At that point, I forget the name of the part that we're gonna be dropping, the main bearing cap, something along those lines. And then you're gonna put it all back together, change the oil, and pray to the oil and rear main seal gods that it's no longer gonna leak. So the very first step, we have to drain the oil, so I'll do that now.
We forgot gloves.
That we did. It's gonna be a pretty messy job, so we need gloves, we need goggles. We're gonna need the works here, everyone.
My favorite part.
My least favorite part.
Wow, nice catch.
There are two strategies when trying to remove the downpipe from the exhaust header. You could either remove the oxygen sensors themselves and leave them plugged in, or you can just unplug them and just pull them out with the whole apparatus. Unplugging an oxygen sensor for me is a lot easier than actually removing the oxygen sensor itself, as some of you might know. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. You just unplug the two wires just grab the oxygen sensors, follow it back, and unplug those two wires.
Is that coffee?
Coffee is bomb.
Doing its job or what?
Coffee is bomb. I wish it just did this for me. I really don't want to get underneath a non-lifted Jeep to do this job.
This is our handy dandy humongo bungo flashlight.
Oh man, if you don't already have one of these, it's time to invest in one of these. Check this thing out. I'll put a link in the description. You could pretty much angle it any direction you want, and it's basically fits anywhere a light bulb fits. Look at how funny that is. It's literally a light bulb attachment.
It has been hours, you guys, hours. And it's finally out.
Well, the issue was our stupid exhaust. The issue is the exhaust on these O5s. They're now two-piece like the TJ O1s. So these ones, you have to remove the whole, you have to drop the skid plate, and man, it turned into a mess real quick.
Let me show you just what we mean by mess. Literally brutal. Got some pieces coming out of I don't know where. To say the least, we are exhausted. I do not think this project's gonna get done in one day. We're probably gonna continue tomorrow morning and into the next weekend. So let's see how it goes.
So I'm gonna continue on the project. Why don't you tell me what you're doing there, Ollie?
I am cleaning anything that makes contact with anything. Right now I'm using Goo Gone just to make sure anything that has...
Looks like a pretty great job so far.
Thanks. Gotta put some elbow.
Looks like the previous owner didn't actually use any sealant, so it's gonna be easier to clean up. Also, there was a strip bolt in the engine block, which kind of sucks, but it was towards the front and I didn't see any leaks around it at all. And now I'll move those 14 bolts that are holding in the, what is it, the crank rod or whatever, something like that. All right, check in with you in a minute.
Smile on your face.
Have a nice smile. To give you an update, we took out the bearing cap, we took out the old seal, both upper and lower seals, we removed both of them. We did so by tapping. I understand this isn't the most comprehensive DIY guide. I will literally put a link to some gentleman who wrote up a really nice DIY. I will place it in the description below. I'm just following their instructions. I don't want to redefine the wheel. However, when I pulled this seal out, it was facing the wrong direction. So I think this is my issue. Other issues that I ran into is the previous owner stripped one of the bolts holding the oil pan gasket to the engine block. So fortunately, it doesn't look like it's leaking much oil, and I think we'll get away with it being okay. For now, we're gonna put everything down, shower, and go have some dinner. Probably work on this later this evening, as it's been like 6-7 hours just to get to this point. Just as an FYI, if you have a newer Wrangler, I don't know the year they crossed over with the exhaust systems, but the newer Wranglers actually make it really difficult for you, the newer as in the newer TJs, makes it very difficult for you to remove the exhaust without having to drop the transfer case skid plate. On the older TJs like our Sahara, there are bolts that are exposed. You can just remove the bolts and the whole downpipe comes out. But that's not the case with this setup. So I really hope I didn't damage anything by dropping the skid plate, transfer case connector, as well as the stick shift connector, all connected. Hopefully I didn't bend anything, but if I did, guess what? We bolt everything up and ship it over to someone that can actually help us out.
Alrighty guys, good morning. It is really early. We didn't know how long this was gonna take, so we woke up pretty early to get this project continued and hopefully finished. So right now we're just starting with cleaning a couple of our parts, making sure they're good to go before we put them back in. So I'll give you a little walk around of all the things that we're cleaning and the different products that we're using to do that. So we made sure the oil was drained completely. There was still some residual inside of it. We cleaned all the surfaces that make contact. We used Goo Gone over here. I used this little plastic thingamadinger Greg had. It didn't scratch, which was great, which you need to make sure that you don't scratch. There's a little piece over here that's a little bit less than desirable. Then up over here, we're cleaning with paint solvent just to get rid of any residue from the past person that did the job.
So I got this down to the bare metal over here.
I thought you were talking to me.
Here's Arlene, thinking I was talking to her. So this is where the seal is going to sit. Let me try to get it to zoom in. Sorry about that. Right there. So that's where the seal is going to sit. So you want to make sure you totally clean out all the gunk and residual, as well as on this mounting surface right over here. Get both of those out. Arlene's underneath the Jeep currently. She is cleaning up the oil pan gasket mating surface. Once we get everything clean, we're going to slap the seals back into place and hopefully put this thing back together.
It's pretty dirty down there.
Talk to me. What did you do?
I was cleaning the mating area for our pan. Someone had put some sort of sealant on it, and clearly it's still there. So we just scrubbed it out with a toothbrush. And most of it's out, but still got to get back down there.
And while Arlene was at that, I replaced the seal here, and I did it with the opening facing to the front of the vehicle where my hand is holding. Just put a little bit grease, and looks like it's seated pretty well. So this part is a lot harder than it looks. I am squirming in the new rear main seal, the upper half, with the lip pointing towards the front of the vehicle. And it's just very challenging to put this in. So just take your time, be patient, and it'll eventually all go in. This is anaerobic sealant over here. Link is in the description. I'm gonna go ahead and seal the ends and then put this main bearing cap back on. And here you are. There's the anaerobic sealant. Put a little bit of oil right over here so we don't start the engine on without any oil. Time to install this bad boy back into the Jeep. As you can tell, the brace is in. It's that rod down the middle, right over there. It's held in with 14 screws and they need to be bolted in 35 foot-pounds of torque. And then the bearing cap, which you could see all the way at the back, which is where the rear main seal lives, torque that down to 80 foot-pounds. This part's pretty simple. Next step is to install the oil pan gasket. So if you're smart and you buy a Felpro kit like me, it comes with these little prongs over here. What these prongs do is you place one of these in each corner. As you can see, half of it is threaded and the other half is not. You place these in each corner to help guide you with the oil pan gasket in case you're just one person doing this. It'll snap into place. Once it's in place, you'll put a couple screws, and after a couple screws, you pop these guys out. Now, before I place this on, I'm going to put some of the Permatex Ultra Black sealant on areas that are prone to leaking, such as the front and the rear portions. Once I do that, then it's time to slap it back on. This project's coming along. And I know that I'm not showing you every last little detail. There are lots of write-ups on that. I just want to show you some of the critical parts, and most importantly, just have you see this process so you can follow along with this Rubicon build. We are working through this oil leak. Let's continue. As you can see, I put some of the gasket material both above and below on just the front and rear portions where it is prone to leaking. Time to install those 4 retainer bolts, and let's get the project going. Putting everything back together, I didn't have an inch-pound guide. You're supposed to do about 100 inch-pounds. I just used by feel. I went by feel. Feel kind of defeated. One of the bolts near the rear main seal, upon examination, looked like perhaps it has been cross-threaded in the past before I even put it in. So I think that might be contributing to the leak. So I'm gonna just put it back together as best as I can, and then if it still leaks, I'll take it to someone and have them help me out with a new bolt or something like that. Currently, we're just gonna manage the exhaust, kind of put it back into place, and then we're gonna lift up the skid plate and hope that everything comes back together all right. I'm gonna wait before I put some oil back into the system just so the gasket cures, and other than that, we're buttoning things up finally after 2 days.
That is finally for sure.
How's it going?
I think I'm finished.
So, update with the Rubicon. Exhaust is back, skid plate is back, everything is back. We have a couple more things like the compressor bolts, as well as we have the transmission mount bolts over there. Gonna do an oil change and we are home free. Moment of truth. Oil change time. Replace the filter. Gonna put 10W30 in there as per the specs. Everything else is tightened. Transfer case, transmission, the bolts for the air compressor. Everything has been torqued down. So let's see if I put this oil, let's see if it doesn't spill everywhere underneath.
That was my knees.
Anything?
Nothing. Oh, please.
Anything?
Nothing. Alrighty, my friends. So nothing is dripping. There's one thing left to do. Oh gosh.
You know, I really don't want to do this. Thing. As it is.
Oh my gosh. So we did notice some smoking. Yeah. Same. Yeah. God, it smells terrible. Wrecked.
For now, I deem this a success.
Can I have the flashlight?
Is it dripping?
No, I just want to see the spot that I saw was leaking from underneath. Like, I just want to flashlight it and see.
So initially the cats were smoking a little bit. I think a little bit of oil got on them, but it is all good now.
We just used the flashlight, inspected underneath. Nothing looks like it's leaking. Everything still looks dry. So we're gonna call this a success. for now. We'll keep you posted, but we are really happy with the results, even though it took us 2 days to get here.
We'll keep you updated on our Instagram at Garage Couple, and hopefully we don't see this thing leaking oil ever again. I never want to do this job again on a newer TJ. That was brutal.
But thanks for watching. Make sure to check us out at Garage Couple and leave a comment below for any suggestions or things you want to see next.
Or if you need help doing the job, we respond really quickly. So just drop a comment and I will help you as much as I can. Thank you.